awesome.
Well, there was a lot of, I listened to, this is like the beauty of Juan. Juan has got some amazing stories that he can tell to exemplify a point that he's trying to make. And, the takeaway, even though you're just referring to this energy reference and Kuji, which a lot of people that are on this call have had a lot of experiences with as of late because of Zoom and the efforts that Hardy and his staff have put into having Anshu Hayes facilitate some of these seminars. But, the time that we're in now won't be the last time that we're in something. It won't be the same, maybe the same topic or the same circumstances, but this wasn't the first time, and it certainly won't be the last time. But your training, if I'm hearing you correctly from everything that you've been discussing with us for the past hour, is that there are intricacies within the martial art that you have to dig in deep and really find out what and how they mean to you, for you to be able to express them in those moments when things are not going, we'll just say, your way, to really simplify what's going on. And it sounds like through the years that you've been training with the different teachers that you've had, these are some of the most important things that you've kind of walked away with, which is this regulating to not get caught up in the moment, no matter what that moment is, whether it's a conversation, whether it's a physical assault, whether it's a pandemic. We can't let ourselves get caught up. We've got to constantly be regulating. In your context, the way you started, it starts with your breath. Then it comes into regulating what is going on around you and how you're responding to it. And then regulating, where is this going to go from here? This forethought of, what am I doing with this as it is moving along? Because we can get caught up in complaining about things and wishing things were different and hoping that things will turn out to be a different way. And all it does is perpetuate our disdain for what is going on in the moment. Yeah. And that's, if we're looking at what the real meaning of our training is, no matter the different avenues that we've all had to come to this certain juxtaposition in this current time and age, looking at those things that made our training so unique is what is going to help us move forward. But you have to use the lessons. You can't just learn all this stuff and then just be upset that things aren't working out. And it sounds, in a nutshell, it basically sounds like that is what you have done, and you're expressing it through these stories that you're telling about Elvis coins, Juan.
Elvis coins. I don't know if you know about Elvis, but Elvis was a martial artist. He was a real tough guy. And I know that because Greg Silva had the same teacher, Ed Parker, And I'll tell you a story about perspective.
Juan, I hate to cut you off, but you got to make this story quick because we got to go here shortly. Okay. So real quick, the condensed version.
So Greg Silva and I built a school in Boca Raton, West Boca, together. And on the wall, we had these huge artist renderings by Ed Parker Jr., the son of the late Ed Parker. And Ed Parker Jr. was around Elvis when he was a kid. He was around Bruce Lee when he was a kid. So a friend, one of my students and friends, his name is Pete. He's probably on this call. He asked Ed Parker Jr., so, man, how was it meeting Bruce Lee, for the first time? He said, and Ed Parker Jr. is a pretty tall guy. He's a big guy like his dad. He goes, oh, how tall he was. And we were going like, what? He goes like, because, Bruce Lee was like 5'6", I heard, something like that. Much shorter than Ed Parker Jr. He says, yeah, because I was like 4. So when he first met Bruce Lee, like, oh, look at this guy, So it's all perspective, right? So you got to look at what context. So, I think, and I learned a lot this from Jack Hoban. Jack Hoban talked about dualism a lot. And dualism is like, if you did an exercise right now, if I told you right now, can you feel the seat underneath you? Now you can feel your buttocks touching the seat and your weight touching the seat. Okay. It was there before I asked you to pay attention to it. That's that dualism, that these things are happening already if you can just pay attention to it. So the potential for you to thrive, the potential for you to change things in the moment is right there. We just got to be able to bring our consciousness to it. So how does all that come from this training? It starts with the physical training. And the physical training are the models that manifest themselves physically, but there's emotional states and spiritual states and all this stuff. So I think it's important not to disregard energy. You got to know the physical stuff and hang out there, but it's about energy too, because um, if you take the energy out, you take the background, the stuff that you don't see, you take it out. And that's the
Right.
stuff that you don't see is the important stuff. That's the space between the lines. This, it's like I heard a story about Stephen Hayes say, you know, when is he going to teach us? He was in Japan. This was in the 70s. When is he going to teach us how to eat? And Oguri-san, who already passed away, told him he is every time. He says, man, I never miss a training session ever, you know? And he goes like, yeah, I mean, he teaches all the time. And he says like, when? He says, right now, look over and watch him eat. He's teaching us how to eat right now. So you can't wait to be taught in life. If I told you, hey, you have to do this, I haven't, no one's taught me that. You can't wait to be taught. Okay. Somehow you're going to figure things out. You're going to go with what you got, and you're just going to move forward. And sometimes you got to tiptoe. Sometimes you're going to run. Sometimes you're going to make a lot of noise. Sometimes you got to use all your power, and all your powers. Hey, I don't know how to do this. Can you help me out? And just go for it. So you don't have to know everything, but you just got to be willing to learn as you go, and that's how it works. Otherwise, you'll be afraid to make a decision. Do I go to the school and train or not? There's a guy named Fred O'Connor. He was a coach for the Washington Redskins when they were Super Bowl champs with John Riggins and Joe Theismann. And he's been a client of mine some years, I've known for some years. And I asked him a couple questions, and he says the biggest thing is people are afraid to make decisions. You got to make a decision. So successful people, no matter what you're doing, make a decision quickly, and they change their mind very slow. So in that conversation, Fred O'Connor says, people make a decision. Let's say it's a bad decision. He says, well, then turn around, come right back out. Get out of there. He said, what happens if people make a decision, they think they're going to stay there. He said, people get stuck in the mud. He says, don't get stuck in the mud, Juan. If it's bad, move out. If it's good, keep going, and it was just that simple, So I think we got to be able to make those decisions in COVID. Yes, there's fear. Okay. You got to navigate your risk. What are my risk? For me, I have underlying conditions. My risk levels are different than yours, Scott Bragg, the heart rate, right? So I got to navigate my risk levels, based on where I am and where I got to go. And that's it. You got to know where you are, but you got to move. You got to move because everything's moving all the time. And if you're standing still and you're not planning, if you're not planning, you're planning to fail, So, I know we're out of time, but here's the last thing I want to tell you. And I wrote this down because I don't want to forget it. Stephen Hayes said a long time ago, I heard him say it. He says that he renews himself, he reinvents himself every 10 years. And it was related to like a ninja historical cycle of 20 and 20 and then 10 and 10. And he had some different things to say about certain times when you get to a certain age in your life, like life passages. So that was a very interesting conversation. And then there's a guy named Paul J. Meyer, very successful business guy, billionaire. And that I got to read some of his books, and I was like on the same team, learning from this guy. And he said that when he turned 60, he said, I want to learn how to play tennis. So he started playing tennis. People were looking, you're 60 years old. He says, so what? So what? So he started playing tennis, and within that decade, he started competing at the senior level, at the highest levels of tennis, and became a champion. And I heard Paul Massey tell me one time that his kanji, teacher told him life begins at 80. So those are the kind of things, that's what I'm inspired by. That's what I'm inspired by. And, I think those things are important. I think those are what martial arts overall teaches us, besides learning self-defense, right?
Right.
For sure.
Well, Juan, thank you so much for your time. We certainly do appreciate it. Hardy, thanks for hanging in there and getting the hosting going. I know you had some weather complications, but it was a fantastic, great episode. There are some folks, Juan, that were dialed in to this interview tonight. And to them, I say thank you so much for joining us here. And make sure, if you don't mind, if you would, go on and give a follow to the Ninja Every Day. That is Hardy Hakatoshi Merritt's website that all of this is kind of channeled through. And that's his brand as well. So we'd appreciate your support. I will say this, and if you're cool with it, Hardy, we'll close with Juan still on the line. So Juan, don't go anywhere. There are 2 episodes in this, we're calling it a season of the show. So we've got 2 episodes left, and I know we're gonna change the days come September that we're going to start those shows. So if you would, let us know when that change is going to turn over, and then let's talk about the guests that we have coming up and some other initiatives as well, just for the next couple of moments. Go for it.
Sure. So the next week, the show will happen again on Monday night, but the following week, we're going to roll through. It'll be, I believe it's September the 11th is when we'll have the next episode of the show. We're going to shift it over to Friday nights as opposed to Mondays. So we've got a show on September 11th, and we got 2 really special guests lined up for both of those. Do you want to go ahead and tell everybody who we've got lined up?
Sure. So I believe, if I'm not mistaken, she just finished her 2nd book in a series. The first was The Ninja Daughter. The second is The Ninja Blade, and we're gonna have Tori Eldridge on the show on our next show, which will be next Monday. Correct. And then we will be gone what will feel like an eternity, but it won't be. We'll be gone. And then our final show for the season, for the first season of the show, is on the eve of the 40th Annual Ninja Festival that is being hosted both live and on Zoom from Anshu Hayes in Dayton, Ohio. And Anshu is going to be our guest on our final episode for the first season, September 11th, Friday night. That will be that show. I'm not going to let any cats out of the bag, but we've got some, what I would consider, and Hardy would agree with me, a couple of major announcements of some initiatives that we are making to bring in the Toshindo Ninjutsu community, everyone together. So this is a big initiative that Hardy and I are working on. It is coming to fruition, and we're going to share more information with you guys on that as well. So next Monday, Tori Eldridge, and then we'll wait about 9 to 10 days. And then on the Friday, September 11th, September 11th, we will have Anshu Stephen K. Hayes, the founder of Toshindo, on our final episode of the show as we move into taking a little bit of a hiatus for our gearing up into the 2nd season of the show, which we are already planning the guests for that one. It's going to be fantastic. But we've got some things that we're going to be doing in the interim as well that you'll definitely want to pay attention to. Now, I will say this as well. There was a comment that was made. Somebody was talking about wanting to, I'm gonna scroll down here and see who it was so I can first give him some props and then give him a brief answer to what he had asked. Okay, Andrew Mitchell. Andrew Mitchell was, this is basically what he wrote. The ability for distance students to join in on Zoom classes would be wonderful. Do any of you guys have this already? So aside from, and Hardy, I'm going to speak for you just a little bit, but please chime in.
Sure.
What the Quest centers are currently doing is allowing Zoom classes for their particular student base to supplement them not being able to make it in live, in person. If you wanted to train, unfortunately, there's not a way to access those classes because, as I said, they're particularly for their student base. However, if you follow the Ninja Every Day, and if you follow Hardy Merritt on both Instagram and on Facebook, Hardy, what would you say your main Instagram handle is that people can interact with you on?
The Ninja Every Day.
The Ninja Every Day. So you can send a direct message to Hardy, and you can get on either on a list or find the information to when they make posts. Anshu and his senior student, which is my teacher and has been Juan Hernandez's teacher, Mark Santoshi Russo, have done a plethora of Zoom classes specifically on certain topics that relate to Toshindo Ninjutsu. Now, moving forward, James Kentoshinors, is it this Saturday, Hardy?
This Saturday, that's correct.
Okay, what's James doing?
James is going to be coming on and leading a Hanbo workshop through Zoom for us. So we've done sword and we've done a lot of this mind science material James Kento Shinoris is known for his taijutsu and sort of being the guy that was almost like a live-in student of Anshu Hayes. He was the chief instructor up at his school in Ohio for over a decade, but his skill with both a stick and a blade are legendary, and we see a lot of his Tanto Jutsu skills at the different events. So we wanted to ask specifically for him to showcase some of his Hanbo skills.
So that'll be going on this coming Saturday.
This
So
Saturday
Andrew,
at
you can
3
find
p.m.
more info at what time again?
3 p.m.
At 3 p.m. So aside from that, Andrew, what you can do if you haven't done it already is I would highly recommend that you go on to ninjaselfdefense.com and look at the different membership programs that they have there. But there is a very, I wanted to say inexpensive, but I don't want to be insensitive to those that might find any certain dollar amount right now. You've got to be very careful where your money's going to, especially if you're caught up in the COVID pandemic and the results that happen from that. But they've got an entry-level program that if you're interested and you can, you have the resources to do this, I would highly recommend going on there and looking at all of the different learning resources on ninjaselfdefense.com. And that will certainly, most certainly, Andrew, get you started in learning about the instructors that are within this art, but starting from day one on how you can start building your To-Shin Do repertoire, as it were. There's a lot of great lessons on there. So Andrew, Mitchell, and the rest, we appreciate you guys tuning in. Juan, thanks for hanging out with us through this as well. We certainly appreciate your time and for coming on the show. It's been a great and unique perspective that you have, and I appreciate the decades of friendship and the moment that we just shared with you here on the show. Thank you.
Thank you. Can I show you a picture?
Of course. Oh boy. Oh my gosh.
Now this guy right here, this is the picture. You see Big G? See, my grandkids call me Big G. This is their perspective of me.
It's all about perspective.
Exactly. You know, so with that in mind, I just want to leave you with that picture. Guys, I thank both of you for inviting me onto the show. I think it's great. And last week with Yoshi on there was fantastic. I can't wait to see other guys that are going to be coming on, and ladies, you know, and I think this is a good time for this because people are looking, you know, people are looking for something, maybe an edge, you know, and this could be an edge for everybody. And I have to thank Steve Hayes, Mark Russo, Bud Malmstrom, Jack Hoban, Paul Massey, Dr. Hatsumi Nagato, which are all people who, and Greg Silva, and as far as business, who have been instrumental in my life, you know, and Scott, you've been a friend forever. I appreciate you, and Hardy.
Absolutely.
Wish you the best.
Yeah, man. Thank you so much. And sorry I got to meet you under this glitchy connection circumstances, but I can't tell you how much I appreciate your insights with all the stuff, all the topics that we discussed tonight.
Yes, sir.
Okay, everybody. Thanks so much for tuning in. We'll see you soon. Hardy, Juan, thank you so much. Hardy, enjoy your time there in South Carolina. And we'll see you guys really soon. Next week, episode 14 with Tori Eldridge. Don't miss out. She's a unique individual. Maybe we'll get to delve deep into her world of the ninja blade and the ninja daughter and figure out where she's going next. So take care, everybody. We'll see you soon. Have a great night.
Great night.
God bless.